Hi, I'm Shelley Maurer,
And I'm Cher Emmerich. Welcome to Life Lessons from Pickleball.
where we engage with pickleball players from around the world about life on and off the court.
Thanks for joining us.
Before we get started, we have something really exciting to share.
Our book, Life Lessons from Pickleball, is now available on Amazon, and a portion of every sale is donated to Operation Paddle Lift.
Your purchase helps deliver paddles, nets, and resources to underserved communities around the world.
Thank you for being a part of growing the game we all love. Now let's jump into today's episode. Welcome, everyone, to Life Lessons from Pickleball. Today, we are really honored to welcome Mark Palm, founder and CEO of Samaritan Aviation, which provides life-saving medical flights to remote villages along the Sepik River. Am I saying it right?
Sepik, that's it.
Sepik River in Papua New Guinea.
For more than 20 years, Mark has been flying into isolated jungle communities where many people have no roads, electricity, or access to medical care. He has personally led more than 1,500 life-saving flights.
Mark is also a USA Pickleball national champion and is now introducing pickleball to village kids in Papua New Guinea who are currently playing on a helicopter pad.
Mark, your journey with pickleball began during a very challenging season of life, and the sport ended up changing more than just your physical health. Tell us how pickleball first came into your life.
Yeah, it's great to be with you guys, Sharon, Shelley. Thanks for having me. And, I came back from Papua New Guinea 2019 with my family. I was coming back to get my daughter through her senior year of high school. And we always used to stop in Hawaii on the way back from Papua New Guinea. We'd go for 2 years at a time, come back, and we'd kind of get reacclimated to Western civilization in Hawaii on an island, which is a little slower paced than San Diego, where we're based out of. And so we stopped there, and a friend of mine starts talking about pickleball, and I'm like, I mean, probably like a lot of other people at that time, like that kind of sounds like a silly name, like pickleball. What does that even mean? And he was a tennis guy, and so anyway, I just kept hearing the name so part of what I did when I came back in the fall was I would travel around America with one of our float planes. We use seaplanes in Papua New Guinea, landing on the rivers. And so I was flying a plane around raising awareness for the organization. I raised funds. We're a nonprofit. And so I was speaking at different places, and I ended up in Minnesota. And I spoke and was talking to one of our donors, and he says, "Hey, you've got to come and play pickleball tomorrow morning." And I'm like, "Pickleball? I keep hearing about this. All right, let's do it." So he's like, "We got to get up at 5:30 in the morning." And I was jet lagged and everything else, but I'm like, I'm in. Sounds fun. So I get there. It's raining. It's Minnesota, of course. So I find myself in a gym with a bunch of older people and kind of the whole stereotypical pickleball crowd, and trying to figure the game out. These older ladies were kicking my tail, but it was just so much fun, and I started picking it up pretty quickly. I've done athletics my whole life, and mostly surfing and then high school sports, football and baseball, basketball. But this was something new, and I love ping pong and had played tennis a little bit. So all of a sudden I find myself figuring it out and realizing pretty quickly that there's a whole strategic side of pickleball that really intrigued me. And so I came back from that trip, and I was in San Diego, and I'm like, I wonder if there's anybody playing in my area. And of course, Bobby Riggs, actually, which is one of the earlier pickleball clubs, is like 15 minutes from my house. And Steve Dawson and has become a great friend, and Jen. And anyways, just started playing there. Well, part of my journey was as I was playing, I was getting better and better, but then all of a sudden I started getting winded, and I'm like, why am I, I'm playing, harder, better people, but I shouldn't be like getting to the point where I'm struggling. My heart rate's up. I'm having a hard time getting my breath. And through some other things, I ended up getting a CT scan and finding out that I had a growth coming off of my chest that was actually off of my left lung that was knocking my windpipe over to the point of cutting my air off.
Wow.
And so through different doctor's appointments and the CT scans and everything, and then going in doing the biopsies, I found that I had a B cell lymphoma. And
Wow.
so I had started playing pickleball maybe a couple months before. So I knew the game, and they'd opened a park near my house. At that point, it was just starting to take off in this area. And so, of course, with B cell lymphoma, they don't, in this situation, they don't remove the tumor, they shrink it down with chemo. And so I ended up on 6 months of chemotherapy.
Wow.
And I had a bag around my, hooked to myself for a week, and with, you know, everything pumping into me every 20 seconds, and, with port in my chest. I couldn't surf anymore. I couldn't really do anything athletic that I was used to doing. And pickleball became the one thing I could do. And so I would go through a week of chemo, and I would come out of it like, in bed the first day after, could go downstairs the second day as my red blood cells would come back after each round. But by Monday, for me, that was the day where I could get out, and I would
Wow.
find myself at the park on the social side. At that time I was playing good enough within a few months to be on the challenger side. Those of you who are at the different parks know the challenger side versus the social side, and that's kind of a thing they had at this park. And so I would go out and I would play one or two games, and I would be totally wiped out, and I'd go home, and the next morning I'd wake up again and I'd get out and I'd play three games. And then by Friday, I was back on the challenger side for one or two games. And then I would have a couple weeks in between chemo sessions. So by the time I was ready to go back, I could play 7 or 8 games on the challenger side. And
Jeez.
it was really it's hard to explain when you are going through that suffering in that fashion. I mean, it's hard to describe, sores in your mouth, and you're on prednisone, super high amounts. You have sleep pills, and then you're on this steroid that you can't sit still, and you're swelling up every round. You get worse and worse. But the one constant that I had was pickleball, and it was this physical outside community. So it's like you're locked in your house when you're dealing with this kind of cancer, and you can't get out of bed. And then once you get to go out to be able to talk to people, and a lot of them had no idea what I was going through, and I wasn't out announcing it, so I could go kind of not talk about it. It was kind of this way to get away from cancer, um, get outside. We're in San Diego, where the weather's really nice, and just enjoy the fresh air and do something physical. And it really, um, I will confess, the bag that I had on, the chemo bag, I actually could strap it on like a fanny pack. And one day I did play pickleball while I was getting chemo injected in me every 20 seconds. And that was a
Oh.
little awkward, as people were asking me, like, what's that bag around your waist?
Uh,
And anyway, I told my doctor, and she got very upset at me. But that's how much fun pickleball was for me. That release, something different, at the community side. And so pickleball really, from a mental health standpoint, I can just say, like, I know a lot of people have stories about what it's done kind of in their lives, community wise, physical wise, exercise, whatever it is. But for me, getting through cancer, that was the one physical thing I could do, and it was transformative for me personally.
Well, and amazing, like you said, the thing I love about pickleball too is when you show up, people are excited to see you. It's
Mm,
always so nice to have people
yeah,
happy to see you, especially when you're going through something like that, right?
yeah, that's it.
Mm.
Yep.
and so how are you now, Mark?
Yeah, I just went, 5 years now. Just finished 5 years, and everything's
Wow.
great. I ended up
Wow.
doing
Yay.
radiation after I did 6 months of chemo, and then I had about 6 months off before they did another PET CT scan. They thought maybe they wasn't all gone, so I did 5 more weeks of radiation in the fall of 2021. Of course, or 2020. I finished chemo 3 days before COVID broke out, which
Oh,
was very scary because all my B cells were gone, which what fights COVID, right? Which fights
Right.
viruses. And so I was hiding in my room for quite a while, just as we tried to figure out what it was. And, with everybody, obviously globally, it was a big issue. And so that was a very difficult time of just kind of like not touching
Yeah.
anything that would come in from Amazon or anything, like just all that. A lot of fear, especially early on with me not having B cells. But here I am. I feel great. I play pickleball when I'm in New Guinea. I'm even playing as you mentioned, as I teach the kids and other of my staff over there now, they're all playing with their families every week, and now I'm playing senior pro. Getting ready in a few weeks to play the U.S. Open in Naples with my son. My son's a professional pickleball player on the APP tour, and so him and I will be playing split pro again. We played it last year for the first time, and then I'll be playing senior pro, and he'll be playing the main pro. So it's pickleball's been awesome for that too. Just being able to play with my son and win tournaments when I was first teaching him how to play, and then now to see him just go to a whole different level. It's just been great.
What's his name?
His name's Drake Palm,
Drake Palm.
and
Okay, we'll be
yeah,
watching for him.
at Drake the Pickler is his Instagram. If you're on Instagram, and he just got a bronze in India, beat Jack Monroe and Lin
Wow.
Yang over there. So he's on the rise. He's been on the national APP national next gen team and has been winning those tournaments as well. So it's so much fun just to watch him grow and coach him and then watch him get better than me and it's fun. It's such a great sport, and now that I get to live a little vicariously through him as well.
And he gets to see his dad, who you can only, I mean, I can only imagine the fear that he was feeling while you were going through your cancer and all, and he gets to see his dad healthy and playing, and then you both share in this amazing sport. I mean, that's really touching. And I want to ask you about pickleball in New Guinea, but first, take us back to how you even got involved in this. I mean, here you were saving lives with your flight, and then you had to do your own life saving, and you had people around you helping you. How did you get involved in New Guinea to begin with?
Yeah, so I had an interesting upbringing. My father was a minister. My grandfather was a World War II pilot. And
Oh,
so kind of being raised in aviation and helping others. My dad ran a homeless mission up in Santa Cruz, California when I was in high school. And during that, I mean, I'd always seen my dad up talking and on Sundays at church or whatever. But when you actually go do something physically for somebody and help change a life, I mean, that had a huge impact as a teenager where we'd feed people in Santa Cruz, give them clothes if it was cold, a raincoat if it's raining, and just love people, and so that was real transformative. And then I found myself in Mexico as a 16-year-old building houses for people less fortunate and seeing a new culture for the first time. Had no idea just south of the border you could have such a different life, and that had a huge impact. While I was there, I had a spiritual experience, hard to explain. And it's the only time really it's happened that way. But God just spoke to me one morning when I was doing meditation and praying. And what I heard him say was, Mark, I want you to use your passion for people and aviation to share my love in a remote part of the world. And I had no idea what that meant exactly. I was 16, but it was like, okay, it was like verbally, it was that loud and clear. So I
wow.
came back to Northern California. Like, what do I do now? And I ended up going back to Florida to a small school college there that had an aviation program, and met a buddy there who was born in Papua New Guinea, and he hadn't been back since he was a little kid. And so my summer after my freshman year of college, I found myself with him and I over in Papua New Guinea, living with the people in these remote villages and just hearing stories of people dying trying to get to the only hospitals, hearing about people living days away from the only medical help, seeing that there was no seaplanes, huge rivers. The Sepik River, for example, 700 miles long. The size of the Mississippi would be the closest thing you could like describe it to here in the States. And hundreds of thousands of villagers living along the river and with no way to get to the only hospital, which for a lot of them is 3-4 days away. And so we had this vision that was like, wow, could we get an airplane and turn a 3-day trip to the only hospital into a 1-hour flight? And then the second part is, could we do that and not charge the people? And that was the dream. And that's where it began. That was 1994, 32 years ago. And we came back. I started flying airplanes at that point. Went to aircraft mechanics school, did all of that stuff. And then we started Samaritan Aviation as a nonprofit in 2000. And we had a dream, and we took a photo of my wife and I, his wife and him in front of someone else's airplane. And we had this little blurb that we said, this is what we want to do. We formed a nonprofit, and we sent that out to 330 people. And that was the beginning of Samaritan Aviation. And it was 10 years later before my wife and I and our three little kids, Drake, Sierra, and Nolan, arrived in Papua New Guinea with our first float plane and started operations there in 2010. And now, 16 years later, we have four seaplanes. We have about 30 staff members, and planes are flying every day over in Papua New Guinea, saving lives and reaching these remote communities and where people are literally 3 days away from the only hospital or an hour flight. It's life changing, and this I could tell you story after story, saving mothers. 40% of what we do is mothers and babies, and then just sickness outbreaks. Snake bites, any other type of medical emergency. We're there to serve the people, and we don't charge for the flights. We've never had to charge for the flights. Just serving and offering just hope to these people that have none if we're not there. And so that's what we do. And that's what I still do. I run the organization from here, and I'm over in Papua New Guinea about 4 or 5 months a year. I raise most of the funding on this side, and then obviously my CEO role as well, managing the staff. But yeah, it's so awesome to be. Just got back from 2 months over there, and just right out in the middle, going. Even still, as we're going to different parts of the island now, landing in places no one's ever landed an airplane, and villagers seeing an airplane for the very first time.
Oh,
Even a month ago, I was landing in villages, and the look on the faces of the people is unbelievable. And then to save a life, to go in and touch someone who doesn't have hope if you're not there is an unbelievable feeling. And
oh,
it's driven. Our organization's called Samaritan Aviation, and it's really the story. Jesus told a story in the New Testament about who is my neighbor, and really describing a situation where somebody helps somebody else, where culturally it wasn't expected. And so for us, that's really and the two commandments: love God and love your neighbor. And so for us, the people in Papua New Guinea, they're our neighbors, and that's who we've been called to love and serve. And that's really the heart of Samaritan Aviation and what we do.
that is such an important message, and especially right now in this time, in this world, that is such an important message. Oh, thank you so much for the work you're doing. How cool that you had that real clear message and at such a young age, and then it all evolved so beautifully. So you said you could tell us a whole lot of stories. Are there any particular stories that kind of have stayed with you that you could share?
Yeah, one of my favorites is really the first medical flight I ever did. For 10 years, I went around America telling people who didn't know where Papua New Guinea is. For those of you who don't know where it is, it's north of Australia. It's the second largest island in the world. Half of it is Irian Jaya or Indonesia, and half of it is Papua New Guinea. 12 million people just on that side of the island, 840 languages, 14,000-foot mountains going through the middle of the island. And the island itself is the landmass is the size of the state of California. So it's
Wow.
not some small little island that people think, oh, probably, little island, a few thousand people. It's very large, and it's one of the most remote places on Earth, still considered the last frontier. And so that's the place where we serve. And so, telling people in America, like, hey, if you could help us buy an airplane, if you could help fund us, we can go save lives. These people have 3 days away from the only hospital. That's a whole conversation in itself for someone in America where there's 5 hospitals within an hour of
Yeah.
probably most of us.
Yeah.
That whole concept is so foreign. And then the idea that we can land this airplane. There's no one else flying a float plane. We can land it on the water. And so 10 years of telling that story, we finally get there. And the first call comes in for a mother in labor. It was Good Friday, 2010. And get the call, I still remember putting the stretcher in the airplane, making sure everything was good. The weather was bad, of course, but we managed to get through the clouds, get down on the side of this river, and they're bringing this unconscious mother on a stretcher to the airplane and load her in the plane. And as a pilot, we fly Cessna 206s. They're little 6-seat aircraft. Her head is really like a foot away from me as I'm flying the airplane. And I keep looking back, and I see she's still breathing, but she's totally unconscious. And it's only a 35-minute flight, but that flight feels like forever.
Mm.
But we finally get her there. We get her in our car, get her to the hospital. And the next day, my wife and I and our 3 kids, we always go visit the people in the hospital that we bring in and bring them food and clothes and pray with them and talk and just love on them. And the next day we walk in looking for Antonia was her name. And I'll never forget walking around the corner and seeing this lady holding this little baby boy, and
Oh.
seeing two lives, that were saved. And I thought back to all of those years of telling people, if you help us, we can save lives, we can change communities. And there is this lady holding this little baby boy, and she
Oh,
looks up at me and she says, "We want you and your wife to name our boy." And I'm
Oh.
like, "Wow, okay, hold on a minute." Like, I've in America, we don't typically name people's children. And so I'm like, "Give me a minute." So give us a day or two. So we went home, tried to come up with a name, came back, and we said, "We have a name for your child." And she says, "Never mind. We've named him after you. And his name is Mark."
Oh.
And so forever I've been connected with this young little baby. Well, fast forward now, he's almost 16. He'll be 16 years old in the next few weeks. And he's in school. He's doing amazing. His mom, Antonio, just became a grandma. I just saw her recently and had a chance to go into her village along the river and give her a hug. And just, those are the stories. Like, that's one family that we've impacted, that just the mother's now alive. So now she's a grandma. The young
Wow.
man is in seventh grade now at school and doing amazing. And so I could, yeah, story after story like that, thousands of flights that I've done. But that one always sticks with me, because it was the first one, and it's one I'm still in touch with the young man and the mom. And it's so relevant still today, to go in these places and see people that come up and say, "Thank you. You saved my mom. You saved my daughter, my husband, my child, whatever it is." They're so grateful that we're there. And now we're starting one family. I flew in the wife of this gentleman, his daughter, and now I've flown his granddaughter in. So 3 generations of
wow.
lives that I've saved just in one family. So that's, anyway, going back to the village is really an awesome time. And just we call it, we're just trying to be the hands and feet of Jesus. We're just there to love. We're, we don't charge. We're not trying to get anything out of them. We're just like, "Hey, God loves you, and He values you, and you deserve a chance to live when you're sick." And that's really what we do.
Wow. How how do they have cell service in these remote places, or how do they contact you?
That's a great question. When we first arrived, it was HF radio, high frequency radio, like shortwave. Now they've put cell towers along the river. And so some
Hmm.
of the villagers will have to run 30 minutes along the river, climb a coconut tree to get cell service. Other ones, they'll climb a mountain to get a call out, or they also know where on the river they can go to. So they'll get in a boat, come down to a certain location, and they're able to reach us. And we have a nurse on call 7 days a week, holding a phone, where we can triage the patient, figure out what they need. If they need anti-venom, if we need a trauma nurse, if we need a midwife, we work with the only hospital to provide nurses on the flights to make sure that we can offer the health care for the patients, to get them back to the hospital, to give them a chance to live.
Wow. Mark, I just am overwhelmed. Lots of questions, some kind of logistical. So, are the airplanes equipped with medical equipment as well?
Yeah, so they have stretchers, we have oxygen, we have a medical bag. So depending on what we need, we can give IVs. We can, if it's a snake bite, like I mentioned, we can bring the
Yeah.
anti-venom in and save their life that way. So
Wow.
basically, we're just trying to get them to the hospital as quickly as we can. It's not like we don't have the machinery and stuff like that some of the medevac planes in America would have. But
Yeah.
our job really is to say, how can we get them to the hospital as quickly as we can, keep them stable long enough for the hospital to do what they do well.
And how is the hospital there?
It's getting better. It's hard to describe, but like, for them, it's amazing, right? It's the only chance they have to live. For our
Yeah.
standards, we probably we wouldn't think it was real high standards of care. I think the biggest challenge is enough staff
Uh,
to deal. I mean, it's one hospital serving 1 million people.
oy.
So if you can imagine, one of our hospitals serving 1 million people, there's always a shortage. But the most serious cases do get served, and so that's really what our focus is saving lives. And the hospital does a great job of keeping people alive. And when it's a serious case, we're able to save their life.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for that amazing work. And now you are bringing this amazing game to this community. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things. When I was surfing, I've surfed all my life, and when I first moved to Papua New Guinea, I started a surf club and introduced surfing to a bunch of the different islands around where we're based, and it's held surf contests and things like that. And then now pickleball has become my main focus, and so I'm like, the kids need to learn, and it's really cool. People step up. The pickleball community is super giving. One of our sponsors, Mavericks Pickleball, they gave us free paddles to take to the kids, and so one of the places we're expanding to. So we're most of what I've described to you is on the north side of the island on the Sepik River, and we're now expanding across the mountains to the Gulf Province, to a place it's called Kapuna, but it's 50 miles from the nearest road. It's in a swamp. There's no cars. There's no vehicles of any sort. Like, it's literally a hospital in a village alongside of a river, and and it's underwater part of the year, different times. But there's a helicopter pad there it's 26 by 26, so it's a little difficult. And when you go off the edge, you're dropping a foot into the swampy water or
Oh
whatever. But
boy.
uh when you can introduce a sport, like, if you could imagine someone who's never seen a paddle, right? They've never held a paddle of sport, a sport paddle of any type. And it's just interesting watching them learn. I mean, the people in New Guinea are very athletic. It was interesting. The girls picked it up much faster. The game just kind of figured it all out, and really excelled quickly. And the guys are just trying to smash the ball or whatever. But um, yes, it's so interesting when you watch someone just try to hold a paddle for the first time, and you're teaching them. But it's been so much fun just to see the smiles and the laughter. And in that culture, women are looked down upon a little bit as far as the value system in that culture. Women are kind of second class citizens in a lot of ways. And so to have a sport where guys and girls can play at an equal playing field is actually really cool. So it kind of takes some of that, that gender side away, and all of a sudden the girls are beating the guys, and it's kind of fun to watch that as well. And it's just good for those guys, to be reminded of that. But
Yeah.
girls are good. So that's been fun. My wife and I do this together. She's such a part of this. And but anyway, yeah, so much fun to watch the smiles, the laughter, and just see that community over there in that culture as well. Pickleball translates through cultures, and it's fun. You can learn it quickly, but yet the beautiful thing is there's that side of pickleball where you can go so many levels. I've been playing now at a very high level, and I'm still learning something, almost on a weekly basis.
Yes.
And then you think you're really good, and then you go play someone like my son who makes you look foolish, and then you're like, okay, I have so much to learn still, but I think just the learning other people's tendencies, and there's so much of observation and trying to solve a puzzle, really, as you're depending on what level you're at. But as you do tournaments and things where you're trying to say, okay, how can we find the weakness? What do we have to do? And it's yeah. My son and I made it to the quarterfinals last year at the U.S. Open Split Pro,
Wow.
Wow.
and we came back from eight. We were down 8-3 in the third game. Came back and won the game. And I mean, just yelling and chest bumping with your son. I mean, like, pickleball somehow could just bring that. And we won a money ball together as well, beating pros, young pros and stuff like that. To do that with your son, I don't know of any other sport really that you can
Right.
do that and just, fist bump and chest bump and get loud with your kids. It's awesome.
So
So,
fun. Yeah.
yeah.
So, Mark, your dream is to build a court in PNG, right?
It is. Yeah. One of the things we're trying to raise, we need about $5,000. There's no concrete out in the jungle. So you have to import it all from the capital, which is, you put it on a barge, put it out in the ocean, bring it in. And so getting the sand and the concrete, we're raising funds so we can build a court in the Gulf side, so those kids don't have to play on a helicopter pad and have a chance to play on a real court. And they have like a mud basketball court too. So we're wanting to do kind of a multi-purpose pad for pickleball as well as basketball. So that's one of our goals on that other side, is to get some funding for that. But yeah, I can't wait to see the kids over there on a real court. We've kind of brought it in a classroom as well, but then you can't, you're hitting the ceiling every time you hit the ball over 12 feet up, up in the air. So that's a little more difficult as well. But yeah, they play soccer over there with a used water bottle a lot of times. And
Mhm.
so they're very adaptable when it comes to playing sports. And yeah, we're going to get a real court over in the jungle at some point where these kids can really see what real pickleball should look like.
No doubt about that, and it'll be so exciting when the first pro kid comes from
Yeah,
PNG
that's right.
with the from playing on that new pickleball court and learning all the skills. Oh my gosh. So you not only are saving lives, you're inspiring lives, you're touching hearts, and you're helping raise the value of women and girls and the community, which we're seeing all across the world actually. So,
Mm.
oh my gosh, Mark. I can imagine this might be a hard question for you to narrow down to one or two, but what are some life lessons that you have learned? Either you learned them while you were playing pickleball and you said, whoa, this is a life lesson I'm going to use in my life, or a life lesson that you knew in life that you find yourself using on the court.
Yeah, for me, it's like chase your dreams, and don't give up. I took 10 years of telling people, going around America. People look at me like, why should I support New Guinea? Why does it matter? You'll never get there. This is a crazy idea, taking your family across the world, trying to get an airplane. Nobody cares, just this over and over again where and so I think I have the gift of tenacity is one of my gifts. But just knowing this is what I'm supposed to do, and fighting for it. I think too many times people give up on their dreams. And so I've just learned that, man, if you really feel like this is what you're supposed to be doing, go for it. Don't give up. And it's amazing to see. And the other thing is be part of something bigger than yourself. I think when we're part of something bigger than us, we can do more than we ever dreamed. And I've seen that in New Guinea. I was over there with my wife for 5 years with no staff, really, fixing the plane, flying the plane. And it was like, uh, you know, uh, I look back and I don't know how we did it. And it's just, we just did it, and it was miraculous. And we were doing it for something much bigger than ourselves. And it just seemed like the strength was there, the capacity was there that we didn't know we had. And I believe people are so much more capable than they realize. And I just have a desire for people to go, man, have you ever, I was asking my son this one time. I said, have you ever done anything to the best? He was in high school. He was struggling a little bit. And I said, have you ever done anything absolutely the best, the best you could absolutely do? You've given it 100%. And he looked at me and he said, no. And he went out and he changed his life. But just, getting people that can become passionate about something. Find something you're passionate about and give it everything you have, and you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. And that's what I've learned through what I've done in New Guinea. And then, winning a golden ticket and going to the national championships, at 47 or 48 or whatever I was, and winning the 35 plus, gold medal. That was awesome. And, we beat a team that was much higher rated than we were, but we played the team, we played the strategy, and we just got together and we did it. Shouldn't have won that. Shouldn't have won it, but we did it.
Shouldn't
We
have
were
won it.
all in, So
But you didn't give
yeah,
up.
we
Down
didn't
three to
give up.
eight, and you didn't give up, and
That's
you
right.
came back and won. That is
Yeah.
so cool. Wow, my gosh. So a lot of people are going to want to know how to follow you and support you. So how can we find you online?
Yeah, we're at SamaritanAviation.org. And we're also on Facebook, Samaritan Aviation, Instagram, Samaritan Aviation. And we have daily stories of lives. The planes are flying all the time. So even though I'm here, it's much bigger than I am. And we have a great team of people over there providing life saving service, delivering medical supplies, being with the patients when they come in. If you can imagine, you've never seen the ocean, you've never seen a vehicle or electricity, and you come out of the village in an emergency situation, we always bring a caregiver from the village to wash the
Oh,
patient, feed the patient, that sort of thing. And so you have these people in absolute traumatic situation with no help in a very foreign environment. And so for us to have, we have a team that goes in every day, brings them food, clothes, and just loves on them. And that's such a huge part of what we do.
yeah.
And that's another thing I would say: get involved with something, do something in your community. There's so many people hurting. You know, you don't have to go 10,000 miles away to some foreign country in the middle of the jungle to save a life. You can, there's mothers hurting. There's people hurting all around us. There's homeless people that are struggling. There's just people. And if you just open your eyes and look outside of ourselves and look around, the need is everywhere. And each day we have a chance to change the world. So that's another big passion of mine. But yeah, check us out. We're 501c3. We completely operate off of funding from donors, foundations, and we'd love to have you join the team.
Well, what an amazing conversation. Oh my gosh, Mark. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you're doing that's changing the world, making the
Mm.
world a better place, touching so many hearts. And I think of the courage of these people who've never seen any kind of vehicle and they get into an airplane. Come on, there
Yeah,
are people who know all about cars right here, but they don't want to get on an airplane. The
yeah,
courage that that takes too is
mm,
just phenomenal. And I love that you're taking pickleball to these kids and adults and bringing that joy and competition and fun. I mean, it's like recess for every age.
absolutely.
So thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mark. Really appreciate you being on the show.
Wow.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sherry.
And
Shelley.
thank you for all you do.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Thank you guys for telling our story and just telling the story of pickleball and how it's changing lives and impacting people everywhere. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Indeed. Indeed. And thank you all for tuning in. Definitely share this episode. And you can find Mark Palm on SamaritanAviation.org. And my gosh, what amazing work is being done. And then look around, find your neighbor who's in need right now, the one right next door, that one. And it'll change our lives and it's going to change the world. Thank you all, and we look forward to a new conversation next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
If you love our podcast, we'd be so grateful if you'd take a few seconds to follow or subscribe to Life Lessons from Pickleball. This ensures you'll never miss an episode and helps us continue these wonderful conversations.
On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, go to the show page and tap the follow button in the top right corner. And on YouTube, click the subscribe button under any of the episodes.
Thanks so much. Hope to see you on the court.